Here are the top 3 tactical changes that I would make to Man United for the next season. Now, the first one has to be the overuse of long balls. This season, we've seen long balls as mainly our primary option of creating chances, and this cannot be the way forward. Most teams usually have some sort of style of play, and that if that style of play doesn't work or the opportunity comes up, then they might resort to 1 or 2 long balls for an attack. But right now, it looks like the only way that the team can get up the pitch is just by booting the ball up, and we need to find a way to fix that for next season. So we need to find a way of learning how to build out from the back. So let's say we have the scenario where Martinez has just passed the ball to our right centre back, and their striker is running around to go and press him. Well, if we want to see us building out from the back, we need to see quicker movement from those in the middle of the park. So in a situation like this, we need to see Kobbie Mainoo absolutely dart into a position like there to receive the ball. And obviously, that means that this midfielder will try and follow him. And what this does is it just opens up this massive space here for either Bruno or Garnacho in this case to run into. So if we were to play a quick pass into Mainoo, he could then relay that on to either Bruno or Garnacho, who can then exploit this space here. So if we have quicker movement from those in midfield, through a couple of one-touch passes, it will then create space for other players to run into, and then we can therefore progress the ball further again. Now this season, typically in a situation like this, we may have actually seen Varane not having really any options, or one of the centre-backs or the goalkeeper not having any option to make that pass. What ends up happening is the defender will often go long to the striker or one of the wingers, and we more often than not lose possession. So this summer we need a lot of training in getting players moving quickly in the midfield and allowing space to be created for others to run into. Now the next thing we need to improve on is how we try and break down defences, and in particular low blocks. Now what we've seen this year is the ball simply getting recycled from one side of the pitch to the other. And when we play against teams that are better at keeping their defensive structure and solidity, this doesn't usually work out well. This doesn't often lead to a lot of chances created. So again, we end up just crossing in the ball randomly or trying a long shot or trying a pass that doesn't work out. And I think it's because we just simply don't see enough movement from players in this area of the pitch. When we were to have Scott McTominay on the field, he would often occupy these sorts of areas. But again, there's just not enough movement from him to get on the ball. The players who are often in the central areas simply don't do enough. And that just means that it's harder for players on the wings or deeper in the field to get that ball in and around the penalty area where we can try and cause some sort of havoc. Now, in a situation like this, we might see the player pass it into Bruno here, and he might not have time to turn around, so he'd either have to play it back or try a super risky pass that more often than not leads to nothing. So what we need to see is some quick runs from Bruno, some unselfish run into some random space, just so that he can just draw this midfielder with him. And again, that creates this space here for, in this case, either Højlund or Mainoo to run into. And by dragging that midfielder away, we can get Højlund or Mainoo in this case onto the ball in this little pocket of space where they can then try and create something else. And not only does it give this player a bit more time and a bit more space, but it also ruffles up their defense and their defensive structure. So again, the players there will start to panic a bit more, and we can then try and exploit them with getting maybe more runs from Dallo into these areas or Garnacho into some sort of area there. We simply just need to get more players into this area of the pitch, and the players in these areas just need to keep randomly moving and moving quickly such that they can create space for other players to get onto the ball. And I think we also need to get players who are more comfortable at playing like this. Players like Rashford and McTominay are not necessarily the kinds of players who can maybe understand how to play this style of football. But that game against Newcastle, we saw Ahmad do very well on the wings and link up well with Mainoo and Fernandes in the middle of the park. And we saw Ahmad play that line-breaking pass to Mainoo for his goal that not necessarily other players on our team can do. And that was done by Mainoo getting into a nice little pocket of space and Ahmad trying to get that ball through the team rather than playing long balls or stupid crosses into the box, or even taking a shot that probably won't go in. Now, the final thing that we probably need to improve on is our counter pressing. Now, ERIK Ten Hag was very well known for implementing vigorous counter pressing styles at Ajax, but we just haven't seen enough of that at Man United. After we lose possession, players seem to only make half-hearted attempts to go press the ball after maybe waiting around for like a few seconds. They don't instantly jump onto the press as soon as they lose the ball. And when we do lose the ball and when we do decide to press, it'll be like Højlund just running around there, and then the ball will eventually get passed to this centre back, and then maybe Bruno Fernandes will then only then go and run to that, or maybe then the right wing will start pressing there. It's so lethargic and so slow. And this style of pressing just doesn't really do anything. It just wastes energy in our team. So what happens is when we lose possession as a team, we need to start pressing immediately. And we need to start being able to press with more than one player at the same time. And in order for us to do that, we need to make our team more compact. This distance here from our striker to our back line is usually too far. And what that means is the opposition generally has more than enough space to evade our half-hearted press. And what that means is we just need to play with a very high line. And that means sacrificing players who are slower in the defence, players like Maguire. And I know Johnny Evans has done very well this season, but obviously these kinds of players can't be our starting centre backs for next year. So in a situation like this, if we were to just lose the ball right now, I'd want to see all these players going in and pressing that defense and cover, not just going and running in erratically for the ball, but make sure that they cover all these other players that they're leaving behind. And in order for us to do that, we need these players here to step up as well. And again, cover the players that these players are leaving behind. Now, this sort of vigorous style of pressing is what we've seen with Ten Hag in the past. And this is what I would have expected Ten Hag to bring to this Man United side. But we just haven't seen that so far. Another suggestion that I would make is that the midfield should not really be composed of two number 10s this season. Remember last season, Erik Ten Hag trialled Mason Mount and Bruno in the midfield. But when they tried their counter press, which wasn't super effective, they would often get bypassed very, very easily, and that just left Casemiro so isolated in the midfield. And that was ultimately one of the reasons why I wasn't happy with us selling Fred last season, because he offered us this counter pressing ability and also gave us that cover in the midfield if we required it. So next season, I definitely do not want to see a midfield of Manu playing with two number 10s. And I would like to see us playing with a holding midfielder with next to Manu and a number 10. And that way, I think our counter pressing style can be very effective, but also we will be able to be very secure on our defensive side.